Welcome to Marine Tech Talk, a podcast about how Teledyne Marine's innovative technologies are enabling scientific discoveries and commercial tasks in the world's oceans and waterways. In this fall series of podcasts, we introduce some of the winners and general entrants from the 2020 Teledyne Marine Photo Contest. Teledyne's annual photo and data contest concluded with over 80 qualified submissions that helped the company donate more than $1,200 to Save the Children as part of our charitable giving campaign. In this episode, we speak with Peter King, facility manager in the Autonomous Systems Maritime Laboratory at the University of Tasmania, and one of the contestants this year in our Teledyne Marine Photo Contest. Peter submitted two great photos. One of his team and their AUV, Nupiri Muka, which was outfitted with two Teledyne RD Instruments DVLs just after recovery, and another pre-deployment with the glacier as a backdrop. Peter explains the photo, how the RD Instruments DVLs aided their research, and a bit about their work as part of the Antarctic Gateway Partnership. Now, here's Peter King with the host of Marine Tech Talk, Melissa Rossi.
Welcome, everybody, to Marine Tech Talk. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we are excited to have a special guest with us. So our guest today is Peter King. Peter's the facility manager at the Autonomous Maritime Systems Laboratory at the University of Tasmania. And Peter is joining us today. He submitted a photo to our photo contest that we recently had. And so we're going to have a little discussion about that. So first, Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Peter, what exactly do you do at the University of Tasmania?
So our facility focuses on autonomous maritime systems. Primarily, that is underwater vehicles, autonomous underwater vehicles. We have a large Explorer class AUV, an 8-meter, 2-ton vehicle that was originally purchased for doing large scientific exploration missions, specifically in polar regions beneath ice. In addition to that, we have a smaller vehicle, which we've used for coastal work, and we primarily use for training. So we run a series of AUV operating courses, specifically for the Australian Defence Force. In addition to that, we have a bunch of small remote control vehicles. We have a number of hulls and various projects in various states of fabrication and invention. And we merge within the university through the Australian Maritime College, which is primarily a hydrodynamics and maritime engineering research center. But our piece of that is anything that's in or on the water that isn't driven by a person and that operates remotely or autonomously.
So you submitted two different photos to the photo contest. One was an AUV that had a glacier in the background that we'll talk a little bit about. And then the other one, I love this photo actually. It looks like all your team on board with the AUV, and everybody looks super happy. So those were the two photos. Actually, that one brought a smile on my face. I like that one a lot. Can we talk a little bit about the photos? First of all, where were the photos taken and what were you doing out there?
So both of those photos are from early this year. Would have been, I imagine, February when the pictures were taken, early February. So we were aboard the Korean research icebreaker Aron, and we were basically in the area of the Thwaites Glacier, so in Pine Island Bay in western Antarctica. The first photo probably might have been before we had started operating. So you see the vehicle on the back deck of the ship, which is where it's kind of staged, ready for launching. And in the background is the beautiful backdrop that is Antarctica. So that would have been some nice gigantic icebergs that were captured in ice. So the year we were down there was quite an extent of sea ice extending out from the glacier. So a lot of large bergs and fast sea ice. The second picture with the people is kind of the hero shot when everything had finished and the vehicle was safely back on deck and a lot of smiling faces. So kind of just as we were getting ready to pack everything back in its box, we kind of scrambled on top of the vehicle and handed somebody a camera and got kind of the picture. So that's what you're seeing there is the team that actually operated and put the vehicle in and out of the water.
It's a great picture. What was the research that you were doing there? And I know you submitted the photo, obviously, to our photo contest because you're using some Teledyne equipment aboard the AUV. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our facility was part of the Antarctic Gateway Partnership project. So it was a large funding push from the Australian government, specifically in Tasmania, to broaden the capacity for Antarctic research. So out of that, we acquired our large autonomous underwater vehicle. So with that, we work with scientific partners here locally and internationally. Basically, we get tasked to send our vehicle down, deploy, and go beneath the ice. So when we talk about studying glaciers and ice level changes and climate change and how the glaciers are changing, one of the key things is to look at them from beneath. And when really the only way to do that is with an untethered free swimming robot. So the last 2 years we've been down in Antarctica. So this particular year with the photos, we went to the Thwaites and we did a 60-kilometer round trip beneath the ice in towards the calving front of the Thwaites, collecting information about the shape of the seafloor, the very important temperatures of the water, the salinity. Where the Teledyne products fit in is we have two Teledyne ADCP DVLs. So these act in kind of two purposes. As a DVL, it tells us how fast our AUV is moving and where, it can also detect where the seafloor is. So it's very important for us to tell us where we're going, how fast we're going, and which direction we're going. So it helps us get that. But in addition, we also run them as ADCP. So we're collecting information about the currents and how the water is moving. So that's what we're tasked with, to deliver that information to scientists, because that's really key into how the ice shelves are changing and melting, is the temperature of the water, whether the water is meltwater or seawater, and which direction, how is that moving in underneath, because that is the primary mechanism in Antarctica that's really driving the changes of these glaciers and the ice shelf.
This particular glacier has sort of an infamous name, perhaps. I read somewhere that it's called the Doomsday Glacier. Why is that?
And I'll be very careful here. I'm an engineer, and I'm a computer engineer, and I'm the robotics guy. I'm very lucky that I get to be very science adjacent, and I get to deliver data, and I get to hear a lot about it. So I'll do my best here, but I'll certainly be careful not to make too many people in lab coats cringe. But the Thwaites is one of the fastest changing ice shelves in Antarctica. And if you look, a glacier exists on the landmass of Antarctica, and it extends towards the ocean to these ice shelves, which are the floating portions of the glacier. And that's kind of the business end. That's where they drain out. If you have an ice shelf that's changing fast and reducing, it then allows more ice to flow out behind it. And what we're noticing is that Thwaites is a very active area. So it's changing very quickly, and it has a lot of ice behind it. So not only is it changing quickly, but it also offers a lot of potential for future change. So that's why it gets this moniker of Doomsday Glacier, because if it keeps going on the course it's going and there's a dramatic change, it has a lot of potential to affect a lot of melt and to really change sea level.
Yeah, I did see that somewhere. I think I read that it has the potential of changing the sea level like 3 feet, which is amazing. Were you guys, by any chance, I was, when I was looking this up, I noticed there was a 2020 International Thwaites Glacier collaboration. Is that what you were part of?
So we were partnered with the Korean group, COPRI, which is their Polar Research Institute. They are a member of the ITGC. So they have contribution to that, where they go down with their icebreaker, and it's a multifaceted science program where they're deploying moorings and CTD casts and their data collection. They then also invited us to come on with the AUV to conduct survey to contribute to that. So we're partners with COPRI, who are a member of the ITGC.
How long does it take to get out there?
I mean, the trip itself is, we launched from New Zealand, Christchurch, New Zealand. It's about a 2-week journey to get to the actual area. We had to take a bit of a side trip. So just as we were getting near the kind of area of interest, we got called out to do an at-sea rescue. So there was a vessel that was in trouble. So we had to circulate back around. If you look on the map, it's a bit weird near the poles. We actually traveled about a third of the way around the world again, backwards, to get to the right in the system. So it took us a few weeks to get to where we actually wanted to go to. But I mean, it's literally the other side of Antarctica to get to Western Antarctica. So yeah, I mean, it's weeks. Yeah.
So was that side trip successful?
Oh yes, yeah, no. I mean, definitely successful. I'm sure they were very happy to see to see us coming towards them to lend assistance.
Yeah, I would think so, because I can't imagine there's a ton of boat traffic up there. So the fact that you were even in the area and able to get there must have been made them very happy, I can imagine. Plans to go back out that way again soon, or to deploy that AUV?
Yeah, that's always on our long-term plan. So we have spent the last 2 years down. So the prior year we went to East Antarctica to the Thwaites Glacier. Then last year to the Thwaites. So we're taking this season. We'll be staying here in Tasmania. But the discussions are ongoing now. So these things, obviously, if you want to do something in 1 year, you're planning it 2 years in advance. So we're in discussions now about getting back down, hopefully the next year or two, to continue the work. Just because we've got the equipment now, it's running very nicely, and we've kind of proven ourselves. So now it's time to really start putting it to work and start collecting this ultra valuable data.
So on your next mission going out, bring your camera. You guys were super close to winning. You came down to the nitty-gritty end voting. I think we had you up in 2 categories. One was show your passion, and the other one was teamwork makes the dream work. And I think you were a runner-up in both. I'm sorry that doesn't win you a prize, but it definitely, your story was really interesting too. That's why we wanted to have you here on the show. But bring your camera next time. We'd love to see some more photos.
Oh, very much enjoyed it. Very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to the Marine Tech Talk podcast. To learn more about the University of Tasmania and the Antarctic Gateway, check out the notes for this episode, where you'll find links to follow along on Twitter and Facebook. You can also keep pace with Peter King and his latest adventures on his Twitter handle. We'll put a link for that in the episode notes as well. If you have any questions or comments about this show, you can email host Melissa Rossi at marinetechtalk@teledyne.com. If you like this podcast, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're hearing this show. That way, you'll never miss an episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time.